Are you broke? Are you overweight? Is your credit in the crapper? Does your life need overall improvement? Well, don't delay. Order now because we have a late night infomercial that will help you solve all of your problems next on Some Cereal for Dinner podcast. You're listening to Some Cereal for Dinner podcast. This is episode 7, the late night infomercial. Order now. Welcome once again to another episode of Some Cereal for Dinner podcast. I'm your host, Ian C. I'm so glad you can make it. Hey, if you like everything growing up, Generation X, the movies, the television shows, the fashion, and today the late night infomercials, well, do me a favor and go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and please share this on your favorite social media because you are in the right place. And I know there are a lot of people out there who are just like you, who grew up Generation X, and this show is all about nostalgia, a lot about then, and a little bit about now. We'll kind of see where the show takes us. But listen, if you grew up in that era, and then you're very familiar with the late night infomercial. And late night infomercials were all about self-improvement, how you could get better, how you could lose weight, how you could buy property. And I bought a lot of that stuff, okay? Or my family bought a lot of that stuff. Or I grew up in a family that bought a lot of that stuff, or whatever. It's all of those kind of things. I bought a lot personally as I grew up. I remember we bought some when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, and I even bought some as an adult. And I am actually going to go through some of these products that I actually bought with you today. Now, I have to tell you that this episode is going to be a little bit more autobiographical and a little bit less academic. I'm not going to talk about like marketing schemes or anything like that. I'm just not educated in that area. I don't know too much about that. Perhaps one day I could have somebody on the show who is an expert in those areas and we can rehash all this stuff again. But I just kind of wanted to walk through my life as it related to infomercials because, I remember staying up late and, after the television was supposed to go off. And I remember as a kid, the television went off. It went off at a certain point. And I was allowed to stay up late on occasion, and I remember the television would go off, but there came a point, and I don't remember exactly when this point was because I'm just telling you kind of, my own life story here, where instead of the television going off, you had this flood of infomercials, is what they were called. You had this flood of commercials, more than likely aimed at people who were up late, and they were basically about improving yourself. They were basically about or improving your life in some way. There were infomercials that revolved around like health and fitness, and there were infomercials that revolved around money, and there were infomercials that revolved around like education and school. There were all those different kinds of infomercials. And then there were those infomercials that revolved around kitchen stuff. Now, I know that we still have infomercials today. I get that. I'm not saying that this was something relegated to the past and you don't see those today anymore. Of course we see them today. We still see them. But I grew up at a time where it was kind of revolutionized, where it was the thing, where it was new, where people had found this new market, this new way to sell things. And like I said, I bought into a lot of this. So what I am going to do is I am going to show you some of the stuff that I still have and talk about it a bit, just kind of riff on it a little bit, nothing major. Now, again, I have two audiences here. I have the people who listen to me just on the podcast listening side, and people who watch the YouTube videos. I struggled with whether or not just to make this a video exclusive, because there's going to be so much visual stuff in here that I wasn't sure it was going to translate completely over into audio. However, I'm going to be talking a lot about each one of these, and I'm sure that, in the picture in your mind, if you're just listening to this, you'll be able to pick up on what I'm looking at here, and it'll be a lot of fun. Because again, like I said, if you grew up Generation X, then you know for sure how it is to be up late at night and see something on television that you desperately want. That you're like, man, I gotta have that. Or, my life's not going the way I want, and if I could just get this, then my life would go the way I want. And then you got it. Now, and I'll be talking about a little bit about what I did with these products once I got them, and which ones I liked and which ones I disliked, and which ones I remember. I'm going to even talk about ones that I remember getting that I don't have anymore, and perhaps maybe even some of them that I wanted. So this will translate over into the audio as well as the visual. But again, listen, if you're listening on either platform, like I've said a dozen times already, I am just elated that you're listening. But if you're only listening audio, I would suggest that you go over to my YouTube page, Some Cereal for Dinner Podcast, and watch it. If you're so inclined to watch it, go ahead and go over there and watch it. So let me get a little bit of a drink of coffee here, and without further delay, let's just go through some of these, and I will talk about them. Now, one of the things I'm not going to talk about before I talk about it, right? One more thing I'm not going to talk about is the kitchen appliances. I didn't buy too many of those. I've got a few of them, but I just decided not to look for them, to hunt for them. I was more into losing weight, and I was more into the self-improvement side of things. So let's start. I'm going to start with one of the ones that I remember getting. I remember one of the earliest ones I got. And I remember my mom bought it for me. It was probably around 1989 or 1990. And that is this course right here, called Power Memory. And I remember the late night. Now, a little bit about me. Like I said, I'm sorry, this is just going to be a little bit more autobiographical. I really struggled in school. I didn't read really well, and I was held back, and so I had kind of problems. But one thing that I had going for me really well was I had a super fantastic memory, and there's a little bit of just kind of laziness going on with me. I just didn't want to do the work that was done at school. I just didn't want to do it. I was just more interested in other things, and so a lot of what I got was things that helped me learn. And I don't have a lot of them today, but I did find this one. Things that kind of improved me and played to my strengths rather than played to my weaknesses. One of the very first ones I got here was this Power Memory that I can recall. Let me also say too that I did get one. We did get one that was earlier than this. The earliest one I ever remember getting was a weight loss one, but that was about when I was 15, which would have been like 1987, somewhere around there. Not maybe 1988, maybe 14, maybe it was 1987. But I don't have that anymore. So I'm gonna start with the earliest one that I have, the earliest one that I actually have that we bought, and that's this Power Memory course. And I remember being up late at night and watching, this guy be able to hear a series of numbers and be able to repeat those numbers like that. Just be able to repeat those numbers without any problem. And then also, they went around the audience and they said everybody's name, and then this guy was able to repeat everybody's name after hearing it just one time and very briefly. He was able to go through the entire audience, and I believe he was able to do it in order and out of order, as I recall. Now, the Power Memory came with 5 tapes here and this workbook as well. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. It also came with a video. This was an awesome course, I have to say. I really enjoyed this course. It came with, like I said, it came with a video, and I remember the video, and I used it for a little while. Like a lot of things, that you do when you're into that self-improvement stuff. You'll invest in something, and then you won't use it, at least to the point that you should use it. And I remember getting it, and I remember the guy and him taking you through the course, and I remember listening to the tapes and applying that to my life. And I also remember even, redigging it out and applying it to my life. And at one time, I was working in a grocery store as a bag boy, and what I attempted to do was memorize where everything was in the store by using this method. And I got through a few, it worked. I got through a few rows where I was able to go around and memorize everything up and down a couple aisles. But, it just kind of faded out. I didn't stick with it. And this actually totally works if you're interested in that, but you do have to learn the method, and then you have to apply the method. So if you learn the method and then apply the method, it works. But sometimes you just don't want to learn and apply the method. But there are little mnemonic tricks that he teaches you where you can memorize anything. All right, so Power Memory. All right, well, let's move on to health and fitness and talk about some of the earliest health and fitness things that I got here. At one time, like I said before, I had a health and fitness diet plan that we got probably back in 1987, but I don't have it anymore. I absolutely don't have it anymore. But let me talk about a couple that I got here around the same time. First of all, I have this Richard Simmons. Now, we had the whole program at one time. We had the whole program, and I don't know where it is. It's somewhere. But I did buy it, and it was the Deal a Meal thing, and you can see that it's an audio cassette, and this is the only thing from that I actually still have. And it is a video, it is an audio, Richard Simmons. It says Colors of Your Life. Now, I remember the Richard Simmons program, and I remember the Sweat into the Oldies that we had, but I don't remember this tape at all. I'm not even sure that I got this tape, that I listened to this tape. I obviously got it. I'm not even sure I remember listening to this tape, but we got Sweat into the Oldies, and it was a fairly decent program. I mean, I've got a lot to say about health and fitness in other areas anyway, but it was a fairly decent program, and I do feel like Richard Simmons is a genuine person who really wants to help. But it was the Deal a Meal. It was you have so many proteins for the day, so many starches for the day, and you take the card and you put it on the other side. And actually, I think we didn't have that one. We had the one where you open it up and it had a little click thing. It was like a little folder that you opened up, and it had windows in the folder, and in each one of the windows was a picture of like either a chicken leg or a fat or a vegetable, and you had so many, and then you would click those shut. So there you can see, and you can kind of see how old it is. I think this was probably around mid-90s is what I'm going to say. I definitely remember getting this after I was married and just going through the program to some degree. My wife and my stepdaughter were really more into that than I was at the time. So I got this. Now, another video series that I got is this thing called The Method, which was Pilates and Yoga. Ooh, nice looking girl on the cover, right? Of course, they have to have that to sell you. Now we had the whole video thing because I don't know what the rest of them are, but this is abs, arms, hips, and thighs, but we had all of them. We had the yoga ones, we had all kinds of ones, and I actually participated in doing this. Hey, listen, this is going to be a little bit embarrassing or whatever, but it's really not quite as embarrassing anymore to be a male who's into yoga, but back then it wasn't popular if you were a man to be into yoga. That just wasn't a thing that was. It was just like if you went to a yoga class back in those days, it was like maybe one guy, maybe two guys. Now you can go to a yoga class and it might be up to 50% to 40% guys. So I still really like yoga. It's still part of what I do. But we got this. Why did I get this? Well, I grew up overweight. I was chunky as a kid and I was fat as an adult, and I did not like it. And eventually got to the point where I lost a bunch of weight, which is a topic for another podcast altogether. But you're going to see that there's a theme in this. Now, I'm trying to go the best that I can in my memory to in which order we got these things. So let me just say I'm not going to do everything I'm not going to do all the fitness in one setting and then all the self-improvement in another setting. That's just not the way it's going to work. Okay. So I'm going through my life basically. So yoga and Pilates. Now, one of the things I do remember getting, and this was also around that same time, was this course on how to get cash at closing, and no down payment, and your quick start guide here, and some audios on no down payment. This was about real estate. I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but I definitely remember being up late at night and seeing that guy's face, Charlton H. Sheets. Yes, I remember that, Charlton H. Sheets, now that I read it. And saying he makes all kinds of money flipping property. And we were like, well, we like money and we could use some more money. And so we're going to try this. And we got it. And it is an amazing course. And we used it to buy our first home. But we stopped using it after that. We didn't get rich flipping homes. But again, that's really more my failure than anything else. It's really more of a lack of discipline on my part. And then of course there's some interest there. It really didn't interest me at all. We were able to buy our first home at quite a steal using this method. On VHS there, more VHS tapes that I have found. Okay, but good course. If you're interested in learning how to flip, I'm sure there is an online version as well, an online version too. Okay, so as far as we're talking about self-discipline here, because it was shortly, probably after that and right around this time that I have two things from Tony Robbins here. I got his Get the Edge videos, but before the Get the Edge videos, I actually got the personal power here. Okay, personal power. Boom, Tony Robbins, personal power. Now you're looking here at the audio CDs. I actually had this on tape, and let me tell you something. Look, I don't mean to sound like an infomercial for Tony Robbins, but this was absolutely one of the best courses that I ever got, and I completely 100% highly recommend it. I went through this twice at the time I got it. I was so excited, and I did see all kinds of self-improvement in my life. I was able to focus better. I was able to have more discipline, and this here was his 30-day course. I actually rebought these later because obviously tapes were, no longer in use, but I still wanted the information. So, and like I said on a previous video, on a previous YouTube video, that I kind of was late in getting, transferring over from the CD into the MP3, and then from the VHS to the DVD. I was a little lagging when it comes. I was not on the cutting edge of technology, so to speak. Okay, but so I re-got these. I re-got these things. I repurchased these because they were so valuable, and I even find myself right now getting a little excited. I pulled these out, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do these again. Because they're amazing. They are truly amazing. I really did see all kinds of improvement in my life as a result of this, and I have nothing but the highest respect for Tony Robbins, and I even am certified in NLP. I'm an NLP practitioner. Haven't really done much with that other than some personal stuff, which maybe we'll talk about on some other podcast or whatever. But this is an amazing 30-day course that you have to get. So I got that probably about the mid-90s. Now, unfortunately, I went through it a couple times, and I did lose a lot of weight at the time, but I didn't keep it off. It wore off, and it's kind of feeding into a couple of different things, but I did eventually, this is just a personal side note here, I did eventually lose around 90 pounds on a good day, 80 pounds kind of on a bad day. But while we're on the theme of health and fitness, I found this videotape, and I don't know if you remember this guy. It's his body makeover, and it's makeover your entire body in just 18 minutes. Now, this is one of those things because I eventually got on the bandwagon and I disciplined myself. I dialed it down, and like I said, I lost around 90 pounds. This is one of those courses, because there was a lot more than just this videotape. This was just the exercise portion of it. And it says here, just let me read this. It says the workout less precision body sculpting. Okay, so it was like workout less. Now, I don't know if you remember this guy, but in the infomercial, he'd see somebody working out, and he'd go up to that person, he'd be like, you know what, you're going to get a lot better results if you just do this, and you can do this body sculpting in less time. Now, again, like, it wasn't just this videotape. He had a whole course, and I really wish I still had that course. I really do, because he had this one thing in there that was super cool. And what it was these little squares where, like, it showed, you basically, it had like the head and the chest. It was a picture of a square of the head and the chest, and then your kind of upper torso, and then your mid torso, and then your legs and hips, and then your lower legs. And what you did was you went through and you looked at, like, the best representation. He had several of them, and you looked at the best representation of what you look like now, and it was on one side. So you'd find basically the picture that you resembled the most, like the basic body structure, the basic, kind of overall body that you look like the most. And then on the opposite side, it would show what you would look like once you got in shape. And it would do that through each of the body, through each of your body sections. So, there was people like with more rounder faces and then fat. And then on the other side, it would show what a person who didn't have fat would look like, but the same basic body structure. And then it would go through the rest of your body that way. And so that was really cool. Then he had like this tape along with it, as I recall, where it was like lose a dress size in 7 days, or lose a pant size in 7 days. And he had basically it was a low carb, kind of high protein diet at the time, really kind of before they got popular again. But that's one that I really wish I actually had those again. And what happened is when we moved, I had it in a box and I had it outside because we just couldn't put everything inside. We were, still trying to arrange the house, and it rained on a few boxes, and that was one of the boxes, and it was basically ruined. And so we got rid of it. Okay, so another one of those out of the way. Now we're going to move into some more current times. Well, let me say this one. I don't remember when I got this one, but this was fun. It was learn how to shoot pool. That was just a fun one. There was a little while where I was into pool, and they kind of had a how-to video on shooting pool. So this wasn't necessarily, it was improving your game, but it was more like how to do those trick shots. So this was just fun for me to get. Let's move into some more current times. And I don't know which one came first, but let's just say this one came first. This is a yoga Pilates all access thing, yoga Pilates, two DVDs. These were great. Really, I've said everything I want to say about the yoga Pilates kind of thing. But it was one of those late night infomercials once again, where it looks fun and you order it and you use it. And I actually, this was when I finally got serious about losing weight. This was actually one of the videotapes that or one of the DVDs that I would actually get out and do at home. And so this, even though I got it a while ago, it reoccurred. It popped up again, so I should say. All right, a couple more here that I've got, and I want to talk about late night. Look at this. Debt Cures from Kevin Trudeau, right? Debt Cures. Now, this also had some type of audio guide to it that I can't find anymore. Now, this is before Kevin Trudeau got busted for some fraudulent stuff. I don't know. Look, I don't know. I don't know anything that happened with him, but this was back in his heyday when he was still super popular, and he wrote like home cures and things like that, and how to beat cancer, and I don't know what he wrote. Look, I'm just riffing. Don't listen to me on this. I'm just going off my memory here. However, let me just say too, I had another course, and I looked for it for filming this video because I don't know where it was, but it was basically a debt correction course on audio tape with a workbook, and that was phenomenal. That was absolutely phenomenal. I used that, and we did see improvement. And because we've made some bad choices over the years, and our finances have gone up and down, like I'm sure many of yours has. And there were times where we got sent to debt collection. And that one of the big things on there is once I knew the laws and how the laws were structured, I was no longer intimidated to answer the phone. Okay, so debt collection. So now let's do one more Tony Robbins, because this is the last Tony Robbins that I got. And this is Get the Edge, which has the Personal Power Classic and the 7-day Get the Edge program. This is, there's some other stuff in there, but lot of the information blends together with the power, the personal power. It kind of blends together, as you can see here. I don't remember when I got this, but there's still a VHS tape. And when I got this at the time, this is not audio download. This is not digital download. And I remember them saying to me on the phone, do you want the tapes or do you want the CDs? And so when I got this at the time, tapes were still kind of a thing. People were still kind of using them. And here's the workbook. Again, highly recommend this. I cannot stress enough how much I recommend Tony Robbins products. But these people are going to think this is an infomercial for that. But it isn't. But you remember all this stuff if you grew up. Now, the very last one I want to talk about, because this is the one that I got when I finally, then this was almost 10 years ago now, this last one that I got. I haven't ordered anything late night in 10 years because obviously you just get it on your computer these days. But this was 10 years ago, and when I finally decided I was going to be done being overweight and all that stuff, I got this, the Power, the P90X. P90X. Sometimes I say PX90. And it actually came with some equipment here. And you pull it and all that stuff. So anyway, this was awesome. I did this twice. I remember going through this and like the first time people were like, oh, how did you do it? I'm like, well, look, I'm taking a lot more breaks than they're taking, because I remember the first time they're like, okay, that, they get everybody in the room and they've got all the people there that they're working out with that's being filmed, and they're like, how many push-ups are you going to do? And I'm like, and they're like, I'm going to do 20 and I'm going to do 30 and I'm going to, whatever. And I'm like, I can do 8. So like I did 8 push-ups, and then basically I had to wait till they got done with their 20 or 30 to get on to the next exercise. And when I first started this, like I didn't have a gym membership, so it was all kind of at-home stuff. And I just worked my butt off until I was able to get a gym membership. I did have some weights though, so that's why these are still kind of in the bag. The bands, I didn't use the bands. I actually had some free weights at the time. But okay, well, listen. What infomercials did you like, and did you get any products off late night television? I'd love to know about it. Please leave them in the comments below. And if you like what we're doing here, please don't forget to hit that like button. If you're on YouTube, please don't forget to hit that like button and that subscribe button and that bell notification, and share this on your favorite social media. Also, if you're listening to this on podcast form, please do me a big favor and like it, leave me an honest review, share this on your favorite social media. That helps a ton. That helps a ton for you to share this on your favorite social media. And if you're feeling generous at all, I have a link to the Buy Me a Coffee, which I will leave in the description box below. And also, I am going to pick one of my favorite one of these, and I am going to leave a link to Amazon because I have an affiliate program. So if you're so inclined to buy one of these, I will leave an affiliate link to Amazon for one of these products. So I hope you enjoyed it. Again, growing up Generation X, the late night infomercials were a big part of my life. You can see I bought into it heavily. Some of it I've used really well. Some of it I haven't used well. Share your story in the comment section below, and we'll see you again on another episode of Some Cereal for Dinner podcast.